So like any other professional or enthusiast out there right now, they'll tell you that a 24-70mm f2.8 lens is a super essential lens for professional work or even just all-around everyday usage. Fujifilm dropped their 16-55 3 years ago, which is basically the equivalent of what a 24-70mm is in full frame format. And today we're going to show you what it's all about. Please, I ain't no noob. So the Fujifilm 16-55mm f2.8 is designed to be a part of the Holy Trinity line of zoom lenses. It is equivalent to about a 24-85mm in full frame format, giving you a versatile zoom lens option for landscapes as well as portrait work. In terms of the design aspect of the Fujifilm 16-55mm f2.8 lens, it is noticeably bigger than most other Fuji X lenses, and this is because one, it's a zoom lens and it's got a max aperture of 2.8 throughout its whole focal length, meaning it's going to be a bit wide, and it is with a 77mm filter thread. On top of that, because of its very solid construction, it weighs a bit as well, weighing at around 655 grams. The rings on the actual lens, the focus ring is not rubberized, but it's quite wide and has a nice resistance to it, so people who manual focus can benefit from using it. The zoom ring is also nice and wide, and it's well rubberized, so it's a lot easier to use. And the last ring on the lens is the clicky aperture ring that's present on most Fuji X lenses. And finally, despite the lens zooming externally, its construction makes it weather sealed anyway, so you'll be confident enough to take this lens out even in the poorest of weather conditions. So now I'm just going to talk about the key features of the Fujifilm 16-55mm f2.8 lens. So first off, it's got a maximum aperture of f2.8 throughout the whole focal length, so you get consistent depth of field performance as well as low light performance too. In conjunction with that, it's got a 9 rounded blade aperture diaphragm, so you get some nice pleasing bokeh. Secondly, it's got a very unique construction with 17 elements in 12 groups combined with 3 spherical and 3 extra low dispersion elements to help with chromatic aberrations and distortions. It's got a nano GI coating on the elements to suppress lens flare as well as any ghosting. And finally, it's got a twin linear autofocus motor for super quick and quiet performance. So in terms of its actual autofocus performance, there's really not much to complain here with the Fujifilm 16-55mm lens. It's really quick and it's accurate, and this is throughout the whole focal length. Today, it's pretty overcast, so most of the images we're taking is in a very dark environment and the autofocus is keeping up. We really want to test the flaring and the ghosting performance, but considering the sun's not out, we can't really test that, unfortunately. In terms of some cool features that the lens has in terms of focusing, it's got a semi-macro mode, so it allows you to get a bit closer to your subjects whilst keeping the amazing optical quality from this lens. Today's sample images were shot from a Fujifilm X-H1 combined with a Fujifilm 16-55mm lens. The Fujifilm 16-55mm lens boasts high sharpness performance, surprisingly at its widest at 16mm and even wide open at f2.8. It boasts pretty damn good sharpness performance, which rivals a lot of wide angles on the market. You'll get consistent sharpness in the center until past 35mm, where the sharpness is best when you stop down by 1 or 2 stops. In terms of corner sharpness, we've heard that some batches suffer some bad corner sharpness, which are even softer than the 18-55mm kit lens. However, with our unit, this isn't the case. Although it's not a prime lens, the bokeh is pretty good, and in terms of vignetting, it does pretty well throughout the focal length. There is barrel distortion in the wider end of the lens, but it can easily be corrected with a lens profile correction. Overall, the images from this lens are fantastic, and we absolutely love the optics. For professionals and enthusiasts looking for a lens that does a pretty good job at being versatile, then the 16-55mm lens is a good substitute and holds up to the Holy Trinity name. So today we've got the lens on a Fujifilm X-H1, which looks quite balanced and not too big. But if you were to chuck this lens on an XT2, 3, or a XT20, then the lens is going to be way too big. And in some cases, when you try and sit it down, it's a bit unbalanced and the lens protrudes out a bit further. So for people who are concerned about size, the 16-55 is definitely a big lens. So my final thoughts on the Fujifilm 16-55mm F2.8 lens. This lens really demonstrates how Fujifilm is capable of making high quality zoom lenses that can benefit a professional or an enthusiast. Now, although the lens is quite big, for people who are traveling or are day trippers, you may need to buy a different case and carry around something a bit bigger to compensate for the lens. Now, despite that, it means that you won't really have to change lens because of how versatile the 16-55 is, with its versatile focal length allowing you to shoot wide angles and portraiture, and it has a very nice max aperture of f2.8, giving you a lot of control over depth of field and low light performance as well. And finally, it is at a really attractive price point, costing just under $1,500 Australian, meaning the lens is quite accessible. If you have any questions on the Fujifilm 16-55mm lens, pop them in the comments below. Make sure to follow us on our Facebook, Instagram, and our blog, which links to those are in our description below, to stay up to date with what's going on in store and to get full written reviews about every product we put through this channel. And if you would like to buy a Fujifilm to 16-55mm lens, links to purchase are in our description as well as our pinned comment below. And finally, as always, if you enjoyed our video, make sure to hit the like button and the subscribe button so you don't miss out on our next video as we upload every Tuesday and Thursday.